Introduction. Millie's desperation. Millie Calloway is struggling to survive. She's broke, living in her car, and desperately searching for a job. After being rejected from multiple places due to her criminal record, she comes across a job posting for a live-in housemaid for the wealthy Winchester family. With no other options, she applies, and surprisingly gets hired despite her lack of experience. The Winchesters live in a luxurious home with large, elegant rooms, but something feels off. Nina Winchester, the lady of the house, acts sweet at first, but soon shows a manipulative, erratic side. She gives Millie impossible tasks, constantly criticizes her, and seems determined to make her life miserable. Meanwhile, Andrew Winchester, Nina's handsome and reserved husband, appears to be a kind and gentle man who feels trapped in his marriage. Millie also meets Cecilia, the Winchesters' young daughter, who mirrors her mother's coldness and cruelty. Despite this, Millie stays because she has nowhere else to go. However, she quickly realizes the job is far more dangerous than she expected. The horror of the Winchester household. Millie Calloway arrives at the Winchester mansion, hopeful that this live-in housemaid job will give her a fresh start. But from the moment she steps into the grand house, something feels deeply unsettling. The house is beautiful. Luxurious furniture, spotless floors, and massive chandeliers hanging from the ceiling. But underneath the polished surface, there's a sense of unease, like a hidden darkness lurking in the shadows. Nina Winchester, the unstable mistress of the house. Nina Winchester, Millie's new employer, is stunning and elegant, with a carefully curated, perfect life, at least on the outside. At first, she greets Millie with a warm smile, acting friendly and welcoming. But it doesn't take long for Nina's mask to slip. Her behavior is erratic. One moment she's sweet, and the next, she's furious over the smallest things. She assigns Millie impossible tasks, like scrubbing the same already clean floor over and over, only to scold her for taking too long. She orders Millie to prepare complicated meals, then throws the food away untouched. She leaves expensive dresses lying on the floor, only to later accuse Millie of ruining them. It's as if Nina is deliberately trying to push her over the edge. But the most disturbing thing is how Nina seems to enjoy it. She watches Millie closely, like a predator toying with its prey, waiting to see how far she can push her before she breaks. The locked attic room. When Millie is shown to her room, she's shocked. It's a tiny windowless attic space with barely enough room to move around. The ceilings are slanted, making it impossible to stand up straight in certain areas. The bed is small and stiff, and the only source of light is a dim, flickering bulb. But the worst part? The door locks from the outside. At first, Millie tries to brush it off. Maybe it's just an old house and that's how the doors were designed. But every night, as she hears the click of the lock, sealing her inside, her unease grows. Why would they need to lock her in? And even more chilling, is she really alone up there? Cecilia, a child with a dark side. Cecilia, Nina and Andrew's young daughter, should be an innocent presence in the house. But instead, she's cold, distant, and unnerving. From the very beginning, Cecilia hates Millie. She glares at her with an unnatural intensity, refuses to speak to her, and goes out of her way to cause trouble. She leaves her toys scattered on the floor, waiting for Millie to trip over them. She spills drinks and blames Millie for making a mess. But then, the incidents start to escalate. One evening, Millie finds a sharp pair of scissors placed under her pillow. Another time, She nearly falls down the staircase after slipping on something Cecilia left in her path. The child watches her without a trace of remorse, as if she enjoys seeing Millie struggle. And when Millie tries to tell Nina about Cecilia's disturbing behavior, Nina laughs it off. "She's just a child," Nina says. "Maybe you're imagining things." Millie starts to wonder, is she losing her mind? Or is there something deeply wrong with this family? Andrew Winchester, the only kind soul, or so it seems. The only relief Millie finds in the house is from Andrew Winchester, Nina's handsome and soft-spoken husband. Unlike Nina, Andrew treats Millie with kindness. He smiles at her, thanks her for her hard work, and even defends her when Nina lashes out unfairly. At times, Millie catches him looking at her with something that almost resembles admiration. She knows it's wrong to feel drawn to a married man, but she can't help but feel sympathy for him. It's clear that he's miserable in his marriage, trapped in a toxic relationship with an unstable woman. Late one evening, after a particularly cruel outburst from Nina, Andrew finds Millie in the kitchen, tears brimming in her eyes. He gently touches her hand and whispers, "I don't know how you put up with her." His touch lingers, and for the first time since she arrived at the mansion, Millie feels safe. But is Andrew really as innocent as he seems? The strange noises in the night. As the days pass, Millie begins to hear strange sounds coming from the house at night. Sometimes it's the faint creak of footsteps in the hallway, even when everyone should be asleep. Other times it's a soft scratching sound coming from inside the walls, like something or someone is trying to get out. One night she hears whispers outside her locked attic door. She holds her breath, frozen in fear. The whispering continues, a soft, eerie murmur. Then, suddenly, a loud knock. Millie jumps out of bed, heart pounding. The knocks grow louder, more frantic. She rushes to the door, trying to open it, but of course it's locked from the outside. "Hello?" she calls out. "Is someone there?" The knocking stops. Silence. The next morning, when she asks Nina or Andrew if they heard anything strange, they both deny it. Millie begins to wonder, is she truly alone in this house at night? Or is someone, or something, trapped here with her? A chilling discovery. Millie's suspicions reach a breaking point when she starts cleaning a storage room in the house and stumbles upon something horrifying. A tattered, blood-stained dress shoved into the back of a closet. She picks it up, her hands shaking. The fabric is ripped, as if someone had struggled violently while wearing it. The bloodstains are faded but unmistakable. As she digs deeper, she finds an old photograph buried beneath some papers. It's a picture of a young woman, a previous maid, perhaps. And then she notices something chilling. The woman is wearing the same uniform Millie wears now. Her blood runs cold. What happened to the last maid? And more importantly, will the same thing happen to her? Conclusion: the true nightmare begins. Millie now knows she's in serious danger. Nina is unpredictable, Cecilia is unsettling, and something sinister is lurking in the house. But the biggest question of all, is Andrew really the kind, protective man he pretends to be? Or is he the most dangerous one of them all? As the house seems to close in around her, Millie realizes one thing. She might not make it out of this job alive. A dark revelation. Who is the real villain? Millie Calloway thought she had seen the worst of the Winchester household. Nina's erratic behavior, Cecilia's unsettling cruelty, and the eerie, locked attic where she was forced to sleep. but nothing could prepare her for the horrifying truth waiting to be uncovered. As the days in the mansion stretch on, Millie begins to sense that something far more sinister lurks beneath the surface. The hostility from Nina no longer seems like mere cruelty. It feels like desperation. The strange noises at night, the whispers outside her locked door, the blood-stained dress she found in the storage room, all of it is leading her towards something she is not supposed to discover. And then, in one chilling moment, everything shifts. The shocking truth about Nina Winchester. For weeks, Millie believed Nina was her tormentor. Nina humiliated her, accused her of crimes she didn't commit, and made her feel like she was losing her mind. Every day she pushed Millie closer to her breaking point. But then Millie starts noticing something strange about Nina. She is afraid, not just anxious, not just unstable, truly terrified. Her hands tremble when Andrew is near. She flinches when he speaks in a sharp tone. And sometimes, when she thinks no one is looking, her eyes dart toward the front door as if she's imagining running. One night, Millie catches Nina crying in the darkened hallway, whispering something to herself over and over. When Millie asks if she's okay, Nina's face twists into a look of pure panic. "You need to get out of here," Nina hisses, gripping Millie's wrist so tightly it hurts. "Leave, before it's too late." Millie recoils, confused. But before she can respond, Andrew steps into the hallway. At the sight of her husband, Nina's entire body tenses in fear. Andrew gives Millie a charming smile, the same soft, reassuring smile he always gives her. But something feels off about it now. And that's when Millie realizes she's been looking at everything the wrong way. Nina isn't the villain. She is the victim, the monster. Beneath the charming facade, for so long Andrew seemed like the only good person in the house. He was kind, understanding, and even protective of Millie. He was the only one who spoke to her with respect. But now, as she watches the way Nina freezes in his presence, the way she forces a smile whenever he enters the room, Millie begins to piece together the real story. Andrew is not the victim of a cruel, unstable wife. Andrew is the reason Nina is unstable. Slowly, Millie starts gathering evidence. She searches through old documents and forgotten corners of the house, following the trail of secrets that Andrew has worked so hard to bury. And then, she finds something that makes her blood run cold. Hidden in the back of Andrew's closet is a box filled with old photographs and newspaper clippings. They're all about the same thing, his past wives. Women who were once happy, vibrant, and full of life. Women who, over time, became withdrawn, fearful, and unstable. Women who disappeared. Some articles mention tragic accidents. Others reference mysterious disappearances. But none of the women ever spoke out against Andrew before they vanished. And now, Millie understands why. Andrew doesn't just manipulate people, he destroys them. The woman in the attic. The final piece of the puzzle falls into place when Millie starts hearing soft sobs coming from behind the attic walls. At first, she thought it was just the wind, or maybe the creaking of the old house. But one night, when she presses her ear against the wall, she hears it clearly. Someone is crying. And then, in the dead of night, she finds the courage to investigate. Using the key she stole from Andrew's office, Millie unlocks a hidden door inside the attic. Behind it, she finds a small secret room. The walls are bare, the air is stale, and in the corner, huddled on a thin mattress, is a woman. She is frail, her hair is tangled, and her eyes are wild with fear. Millie gasps. Who are you? The woman flinches. She looks like she hasn't spoken to anyone in months, maybe even years. Then, in a shaky voice, she whispers, "He did this to me." It hits Millie all at once. Andrew has been keeping this woman captive in the attic. Just like he's been trapping Nina in a psychological prison. Just like he planned to do to Millie. The realization. She's the next target. Millie's heart pounds as she stares at the woman, realization crashing over her like a tidal wave. Andrew has been playing a long game. He hires desperate, vulnerable women like Nina, like the woman in the attic, and now, like Millie. He showers them with charm at first, makes them trust him, and then, when they're isolated and helpless, he begins breaking them down piece by piece. He makes them question reality. He makes them believe they're unstable. He strips them of their independence until they have no choice but to rely on him completely. And when they finally reach the breaking point, he disposes of them. Millie was never supposed to figure this out. She was supposed to fall into his trap, just like the others before her. But now, she knows the truth. And that means Andrew can't let her leave. A deadly game begins. From that moment, everything changes. Andrew begins watching Millie more closely, sensing that she knows too much. The kindness disappears. The charm fades. And soon, she starts to see the real Andrew, the cold, calculated predator beneath the friendly smile. He tightens his grip on her, making it clear that she isn't going anywhere. Now, Millie has only two choices. 1. Obey him and become his next victim. 2. Find a way to escape before it's too late. But Andrew has been doing this for years. He is always one step ahead. And if Millie isn't careful, she will never make it out of the Winchester house alive. Escaping the nightmare. Millie Calloway had entered the Winchester mansion believing she had finally found a fresh start. What she discovered instead was a living nightmare, a house filled with secrets, manipulation, and a monster hiding in plain sight. For weeks, she had thought Nina Winchester was her tormentor, a cruel and unstable woman lashing out at her for no reason. But the truth was far darker than she had ever imagined. Nina was the real victim. The true villain was not the erratic wife. It was the charming, soft-spoken husband, Andrew Winchester. Now, Millie knew too much, and if she didn't act fast, she would become Andrew's next victim. The realization, nowhere to run. After discovering the woman hidden in the attic, Millie felt a growing sense of dread pressing in on her. The woman, frail, terrified, and barely able to speak, had been kept prisoner by Andrew for God only knew how long. Millie had read about Andrew's past wives, how they either vanished or were declared mentally unstable before meeting mysterious fates. She now understood his pattern. He found vulnerable women, isolated them, broke them down mentally, and then got rid of them when they were no longer useful. And now, it was her turn. From that moment, Andrew's demeanor changed. His once gentle smiles became calculating. His compliments turned into warnings. His eyes followed her everywhere she went, as if he was just waiting for her to make a mistake. Millie wasn't safe anymore. She had two choices: find a way to escape or end up like the women before her. The setup. Andrew's plan to destroy. Her Andrew was too smart to kill her outright. He had to discredit her first, just as he had done to Nina. The manipulation began subtly. He moved things around, small objects disappearing and reappearing in strange places, making her doubt her own memory. He whispered lies to Nina and Cecilia, turning them against her completely. He set up traps, breaking things in the house and blaming her, making her seem careless and unstable. He drugged her food, making her feel constantly disoriented and weak. Then, one night, Millie woke up to find her attic door wide open, something that had never happened before. As she crept downstairs, she saw Andrew waiting for her in the kitchen, holding a large butcher knife. "Couldn't sleep?" he asked, his voice calm and controlled. Too controlled. Millie felt her blood turn to ice. This was it. This was the moment when he would claim she had snapped, that she had become violent and unpredictable, just like he had done to Nina. He was going to say she had attacked him, and then he would make her disappear, outsmarting the monster. Millie knew she had one chance to escape, but she had to play it smart. If she tried to fight Andrew head-on, she would lose. He was stronger, more experienced, and had carefully laid out his plan. So, she did something he didn't expect. She played along. For the next few days, she pretended to break down. She acted confused, muttering to herself, making small mistakes. She let him believe that she was falling apart, just as he had intended. And when Andrew finally dropped his guard, believing she was completely under his control, she made her move. The escape plan. Millie needed two things: proof and an exit strategy. Step 1. Gathering evidence. Before she could escape, she had to make sure Andrew couldn't just cover his tracks like he had done before. She secretly recorded their conversations, catching him gaslighting her. She found old letters from past maids and wives hidden away in the attic. She took photographs of the woman trapped upstairs, evidence that she was being held against her will. Step 2. Creating a distraction. Millie knew Andrew was always watching her, so she had to make it seem like she wasn't a threat. One evening, while setting the table for dinner, she accidentally knocked over a glass, making a loud crash. As Andrew sighed in annoyance and turned away, she slipped something into his drink, a sedative she had stolen from the medicine cabinet. Within minutes, Andrew began to feel drowsy, his movements sluggish. "I don't feel so good," he mumbled, gripping the table for support. Millie forced herself to smile. "You must be tired," she said sweetly. "Why don't you rest?" As soon as Andrew collapsed onto the couch, Millie grabbed the woman from the attic and ran. The final showdown. Just as they reached the front door, Andrew stirred. His head lifted groggily, and his eyes locked onto Millie. "No," he slurred, trying to get up. "You're not going anywhere." Millie kicked over a lamp, sending shards of glass across the floor, buying herself precious seconds. She threw the front door open, practically dragging the terrified woman with her. But Andrew was faster than she expected. He lunged after them, grabbing Millie's wrist with bruising force. "You're making a mistake," he growled. "Nobody is going to believe you." But this time, Millie was ready. She pulled out her phone, still recording. The screen showed his face, twisted in rage, his grip on her undeniable. His eyes flicked to the screen, and in that instant, he knew. She had him. He let go, and Millie didn't waste another second. She ran. Freedom, but not without consequences. Millie burst into the night, her lungs burning, sprinting toward the road. She waved frantically at an approaching car, a desperate cry for help. The driver, a passing police officer, stopped immediately. The next hours were a blur, the police raiding the mansion, Andrew's arrest, the woman in the attic being taken to safety. But the most haunting part? Even as Andrew was being led away in handcuffs, he never looked panicked. He smiled at Millie as if to say, "This isn't over." and as she stood there, shaking, watching him disappear into the back of the police car, she realized something chilling. Men like Andrew Winchester don't go down easily. This wasn't just about escaping the mansion. It was about making sure he never had the chance to do it again. The aftermath. No longer a victim. Days later, when the news broke about Andrew's crimes, Millie finally allowed herself to breathe. The evidence was overwhelming. The missing wives, themes and lessons from the housemaid deception and manipulation. The novel explores how easily people can be fooled by appearances. Andrew seemed like the perfect husband, but he was the true villain. Survival and strength. Millie's journey is one of resilience, proving that even in the darkest situations, one can fight back. Psychological abuse. The story highlights the devastating effects of gaslighting, manipulation, and emotional abuse in relationships. Conclusion. The Housemaid is a gripping psychological thriller filled with suspense, unexpected twists, and dark secrets. It keeps readers on edge, showing that evil often hides behind charming smiles. Millie's story is both terrifying and empowering, making this novel an unforgettable read.